I've been hearing a lot about a flash of beauty Bigfoot revealed lately, and it all seems pretty positive. All except for one scene at the end, but we'll get to that later. First, let's watch a flash of beauty and see how it holds up to other Bigfoot documentaries. Like other documentaries, this is just a collection of stories and eyewitness accounts from a bunch of different people, mostly all from the Pacific Northwest. One guy talks about how Native American stories are passed down generation to generation about a tribe living on Mount Adams. Another guy talks about a book called Wanderings of an Artist Among the Indians of North America. Wow, what a title! In the book, it mentions about a mountain owned by a tribe of Bigfoot, and the locals don't dare go up there. Even after the author offered them a substantial sum of money, they wouldn't take him up the mountain.
No matter what.
Every good Bigfoot doc has a newspaper montage, and here is no exception, except it looks really cool. I gotta give them credit for this one. Of course, they bring up the best evidence in support of the creature to date, the Patterson-Gimlin footage. But it's nice to hear the story told from Peter Byrne's perspective. If you don't remember, Peter's one of the Bigfoot greats, researching the topic since the early 70s, and A Flash of Beauty isn't the first documentary he's been in. Monsters, Mysteries or Myths, Man Beast, Myth or Monster, and even appearing on a few episodes of Unsolved Mysteries. Anyway, he tells us a little bit about the integrity of these two men, Patterson and Gimlin, and how they are honest, hard-working guys. He's had the opportunity to interview them on several occasions, and each time he felt the story they told was accurate and honest. But, of course a Bigfoot researcher was going to say that. So, to further prove the footage isn't faked, Peter and Henry Fazoli spent around $500,000 to prove that it was indeed a hoax, and they couldn't do it. In fact, after spending so much time and money on the footage, they were even more convinced that it's real. Henry goes on to say that you can actually see the details and how the muscles are attached to the skull in such a way that it proves it's more human than primate.
It's a hominid.
Dr. Jeff Meldrum chimes in about the footage, which it's always nice to hear from him. He talks about tracks that were found that day by Patterson, and how several days later another researcher, Bob Tipnis, found 10 more tracks in the area. He goes on to say that the technology back in 1967 just wasn't there to create a suit this convincing. There's some more eyewitness encounters. Arla Williams says that when she was 6, she was playing outside and a young male juvenile came up to her. They just kind of looked at each other for a while until he walked away. When she asked her grandma about it, she said, "What do you think it was?" But later on, her grandma confirmed what she saw. She knew that these creatures existed in the woods behind their house. Another good one is Todd's story. He was doing a military training exercise using explosives. They had to do 3 that day, and after the final blast, they were driving up to check their work when he looked at the second blast site, and he saw 3 creatures. Long arms down below the knees, long legs, big chest, and the middle one was probably about 8 foot tall, and the other 2 were slightly shorter. He said the middle one stood like a statue, while the others swayed back and forth. Sounds like he got a good look, and that's what makes his story so interesting. Larry Turner tells us about a time when he was out looking for the creature. He set up infrared alarms around his camp about 7 feet high, so they wouldn't be tripped by small animals. Sure enough, in the middle of the night, the alarm goes off. He said that his dog jumped into the sleeping bag and hid by his feet while he heard something outside the tent walking around. When it got to the back of the tent, the creature pressed its hand against it until he had Larry's head in its palm. Thinking quickly, he set the alarm off on his car, and whatever it was ran away. They also talked to Stan Avery, the town's plumber. He's quite an interesting guy that's developed a curiosity about Sasquatch. So, when he's working on the job, he'll talk to his customers and try to get stories out of them. One of his clients is the Bureau of Land Management, and they happen to have a Bigfoot location map hanging on the wall that really piqued his interest. He asked for a copy of it and eventually got a screenshot of it, but later, when he went back, the map was gone. Another place he goes a lot for his job is the dump, and I guess they have a Bigfoot problem too. Even the employees know it. At night, the creatures sneak in and have a free-for-all with all the food and the garbage. He's also gotten photos from a trail cam, and another customer took a picture of one hanging out in a dead tree. Man, I wish my plumber would talk to me about Bigfoot. Another staple of evidence is the Ron Moorhead tapes. If you haven't heard them before, the story goes like this. Some friends told him about strange sounds at night, every night, and he wanted to hear them for himself. 8 miles into the Sierra Mountains, he was able to record this. It's creepy and unique. I haven't heard anything like it before or since. These were all recorded in 1971. Microphones nowadays don't pick up on much far away, unless it's really loud. If these sounds are legit, it must have been terrifying sitting in those woods that night. Scott Nelson goes on to tell us his credentials, how he was a Navy translator and he could speak many different languages. This guy knows his speech. He says that whatever was recorded that night is not human. It's similar to us, but with 6 or 7 more sounds in there. He also goes on to say that it would be impossible to fake this.
It would be impossible to fake something like this.
Now the movie goes on to the conspiracy side of things, how the government is hiding the truth from us, and honestly, I don't know why they would. They say it's because small towns would be inundated with people and that would hurt the economy, but that just doesn't make sense to me. You would think that that would be a good thing. They also say that it would be impossible to put them on the endangered species list because they're so elusive we can't get an accurate count on them. So if the government tells us that they exist, hunters would go out trying to kill them with no repercussions. But come on, people are out there right now hunting them, and they still can't find the creatures. So I wouldn't worry about that. There's a lot more stories. They talk to a hypnotherapist who says some people actually see these creatures but hide it so deep down that they forget it ever happened. But in the end, it all accumulates to the final story of the show, and it's a good one. Maybe it's because the guy they talk to, Darrell Wilson, seems like such a genuinely good man. Anyway, he talks about how he was diagnosed with terminal cancer and wanted to see his family one last time. So him and his wife flew to Alaska to be with them. While up there, everyone was out fishing and playing around when he and his son-in-law decided to go downstream alone and see what they could catch. That's when he saw it.
That's a Bigfoot!
At first, he thought it was a bear, but looking through binoculars, they both knew this was no bear. The creature stood up and looked right at them. Darrell could see wrinkles on his face, a wide nose, a bald face with hair starting at the top of his head and going all the way down, hairy knuckles, wide shoulders, a muscular body, and not much of a neck. Sounds like the perfect description of a Bigfoot if you ask me. Darrell, being a farmer, would sing to the animals. So he thought, why not sing to this thing?
My sunshine,
my only sunshine, got through the verse once, and he didn't stand up, so I thought maybe he can't hear me, so I'm raising my voice slowly as I go into the second verse. You make me happy when skies are gray, and he stood up.
That actually seemed to work. It at least made the thing curious enough to stand up, stare at them for 10 minutes, and then walk away. As it left, Darrell yelled out to it,
"You're the most beautiful creature in the world. Please don't go."
And that was A Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed. But I know for a fact that there's more. Yeah, at the very end, they showed 2 photos of what they claim is a Bigfoot. This was the movie's biggest new evidence, but they cut it out of the film. I watched this on Tobe, and sometimes bonus scenes and extra content are removed. So I watched it again on Amazon Prime, and it's the same story. It's like these photos were just scrubbed from the internet, which is a hard thing to do. Like many others, I found out about this doc when Thinker Thunker did a whole video proving that these 2 pictures were fake. What I think happened is that his video made such a stink that the director went back and cut it out of the film, then re-uploaded it for streaming services. I mean, it's obviously a fake. A 2-second Google search will prove that. So they probably never should have had it there in the first place. That does hurt the credibility a little bit, but I will say that Brett Eichenberger, the director, is very active online. I've seen him post on different forums and subreddits, and even the Thinker Thunker video itself defending the person who gave them the photos. But even so, I think it's best that they remove them. All in all, A Flash of Beauty is a pretty good film. Cinematography is great, the music is good, and they got some big names to interview, like Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Ron Moorhead, and an aging Peter Byrne. There's no new evidence, though. This is all stuff that anyone slightly interested in the topic would already know. But it's fun and a good introduction to anyone who's never heard of the beast before. I give A Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, 3 Darrells singing You Are My Sunshine out of 4.
I knew that the only time I would be able to talk to anybody about a Bigfoot was at the airport. I walk in, there's about 30, 35 people there. "I've seen a Bigfoot, have any of you?"